Thank you for watching NMH at 1, where we highlight the news making headlines in the land of the brave and beyond, ranging from current affairs, community stories, sports, and economic news. In the news today, Army and police must combat fuel smuggling. Opuwo needs $47 million for water. Swapo outraged by same-sex ruling. I am Glenora Shipura, and this is NMH at 1. In our midday news update, a family from Ohonga village in the Ohangwena region say that they suffered at the hands of a ghost for a week. According to Francina Haufiku, the ghost will throw them stones and bottles of beer. Let's take a look.
Esa katulombe lo kashoshaninya tashidena ufikunwa ntenya tashikupule fingwalishi atineke balinge umivelo tatanya nona no makenda shofili mboshala sano no ya tushimon atubege tashipotike mo mepo igemela ipopika tushishi atushimon ina nande michashi ashendege.
Remember to engage with these stories on our social media throughout the broadcast. Visual news coming up after the break. Let's get into our visual news. Oshana Regional Education Director Helena Amukana said that rural primary schools perform better than rural urban schools in the region. Amukana, who spoke at the recent regional awards ceremony held at Nangushe Secondary School in the Oshana region, informed parents that when they come to her office looking for primary schools, she refers them based on their performance.
And that goes to all other schools, that try the little that you can. Don't remain at the bottom and blame everyone around you without looking at yourself. So colleagues, I'm also impressed when I have been analyzing the results. I look at one category, and that is category B, where you have rural primary schools performing better than urban primary schools. Now, when a parent is coming to me and they are looking for primary schools, and you tell them and say, no, you can take that, we have spaces at Kanjengedi. What do parents say? They will say, no, I want my child to go to Oshakati West, Oshakati Primary. They want, they will mention those schools. But the moment you mention, if it is in Ongwediva, and say, no, take the child to Kanjengedi. They will say, no, I want to go to Charles Anderson. But when the results, and I always tell parents, I always refer you based on the results. Let us ensure that no child is left behind in terms of learning. Let all children be taught properly and master basic competencies. Let's strive towards inclusive education for all. Dear colleagues, if those children sitting there in primary school, their first year, their second year, and their third year, they leave school without knowing to read and write, I'm telling you, my dear brothers and sisters as teachers, you are going to be answerable to whoever you will be answerable to. Because I believe every child can excel. Every child can achieve. Every child will be able to read and write, provided the teachers are doing their part. This thing of children going and reach grade 8 and they cannot read, they cannot write, it is unacceptable. And I will not say it's the parents. I will still go back and ask every individual teacher in grade 1, why is that learner in grade 1 reaching December, November, and the child cannot read? I will ask the teacher in grade 2, why is the child until the end of the year, the child cannot read? And you push them because they are saying, the system is saying the children should continue. No, the system does not say that. The system is giving you directives on what to do if a child cannot read and write. So, remember what I have said in Proverbs. We must not just talk, let's do something about it so that our children can have achieved. Dear colleagues, teachers, let us not make the parents the subject teachers, but let them become first teachers. And there is a difference between a parent as a subject teacher and a parent as a first teacher. The teacher as a parent as a first teacher will do their work as parents at home, making sure that the children are having discipline, the children are acquiring good morals, they have respect. But a subject teacher is the one that is responsible for teaching and learning in the classroom. So let us have that distinct and let each one of us do our work.
Getting into our next video, Angelina Ndapwayita is living with her 5 children in a structure she put together with plastics and blankets at Opinti Informal Settlement at Oshakati. With winter looming, Ndapwayita says she and her children have nowhere to go and pleads for assistance from Good Samaritans to help her construct a shack and also aid with food.
Dina lange ame Angelina launa andi joku kolukanda laupindi loko maenene loko maendoku ya ndilimo kwa kwenda kale fimbo ndilimo mumalukanda ika ndile ndinga ndo shimaliwa kaika kandina shimaliwa alishokulendinga ndiane oku kolukanda lupindi ndakonga no kanere kange beno kundo kuyane papange edwa pandikala ndino munda kutola ne faila danginga ko baindia kwa nditike andi jine moshipambenga she faila ndilanga ne pedupa pa roma pakete ya akunyanga kwa ndinyanganga okulia ko atunyanganga shokadila ngenge nganda ndo ko matalame ilando shikutushe dola na mama ishirandi fando $10 ilo ibena kona na $1 na tu ya indi ndrenga moshiwa na mwao takwa kwa ferange una la kumonange kanjina ngoji takwa ferenga yi hapo nganga ngata kongongelo ko maendo ku ko mahenene ku pindi ilo ae ko beno kundanga kutate nema ni mupindi.
The former Swapo local authority councillor allegedly name-dropped the police chief to sexually exploit a desperate, jobless young man. An update on this story follows in the newspaper review segment. Let's take a look at the newspaper review. The Namibian Sun's front page reports that the ruling Swapo party is not in support of a Supreme Court ruling delivered this week, which compels the government to recognize same-sex marriages concluded abroad that involve Namibians. The party has accused the courts of importing laws from foreign countries, thus overwriting domestic laws regarding same-sex marriages. While same-sex relationships and marriages are not legally recognized in Namibia, the Supreme Court on Tuesday ruled that same-sex couples are, in terms of the Constitution, entitled to equality under the law. On page 3, the Namibia Broadcasting Corporation has withdrawn its High Court case against Media Ombudsman John Nakuta. The national broadcaster had dragged Nakuta to court, alleging that he had been involved in deciding the merits of a complaint made by activists Rinani Musutwa and Rob Parker of the Economic Social Justice Trust, despite his involvement in the trust. Through their lawyers, Shikale and Associates, NBC informed the High Court that it had decided to withdraw its legal action against Nakuta. Republican informs that the pipe that supplies water from the Kweha Pen to Ludres is broken for months. Residents broke the pipe for the first time in October last year. The leak has grown significantly over the past 7 months and formed a river of about 3 kilometers and a freshwater dam at First Lagoon. On page 3, NamPower CEO Samson Haulufo says Namibia is not reliant on South African bulk energy supplier Eskom for all its power needs and gets significantly more electricity from Zambia and Zimbabwe. NamPower sources its electricity from Eskom, Zesco in Zambia, and the Zimbabwe Power Company. Haulufo made the comments in light of plans by the South African bulk electricity supplier to possibly implement stage 9 load shedding in that country, and whether this would have any bearing on NamPower's ability to provide electricity to Namibia. Algemeine Zeitung today is opening with UN special rapporteurs, which have voiced criticism of the planned genocide agreement between Namibia and Germany. The Member of Parliament, Degla Den, accuses the German government of inaction after special rapporteurs of the United Nations expressed considerable shortcomings in Germany's planned genocide agreement with Namibia. The German government has not yet reacted to the criticism despite an extension of the deadline. On page 3 of the Allgemeine Zeitung, the People's Health Tribunal wants to hold fossil fuel companies accountable, specifically Shell and Total Energies, but also other exploration companies operating in Africa. Meanwhile, a first landmark ruling in Guyana, which imposes unlimited liability on the gas and oil exploration industry, could force a fundamental rethink. We'll be back with more newspaper review after the break.
Take a load off and tune into another episode of Brave Namibia as we take a look at both ordinary and extraordinary Namibians. Brave Namibia is broadcasted on NTV Saturdays at 6:30 p.m. and Oneuptwo.com, as well as broadcasted on the following Facebook platforms on Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. Republican, Allgemeine Zeitung, Namibian Sun, and all Namibia Media Holdings pages. For more information, contact the Brave team at brave@synergy.com.na. Brave Namibia, for the ordinary and extraordinary Namibians.
We continue with our newspaper review. The Namibian newspaper reports that the hand that was helping you was indeed the hand that did the damage. The statement about acquitted murder accused Azan Madisa was part of the testimony of the father of Shannon Wasserfall, who disappeared at Walvis Bay in April 2020 during a pre-sentence hearing in the Windhoek High Court on Wednesday. In testimony that was emotionally charged and interrupted by tears at times, Wasserfall's father, Tega Matthews, told Judge Christy Liebenberg that Madisa deceived him for 6 months while his daughter was missing, telling him that she did not know where Wasserfall was while supposedly helping him in his search for his child. On page 3, representatives of the Namibia Local Business Association and the Fuel and Franchise Association of Namibia have called on the government to deploy the army and police along Namibia's border with Angola to prevent illegal fuel smuggling. The call was made at a meeting by the two organizations at Ongwediva on Wednesday. Naloba Vice President Peter Amadila said the government should deploy the police and army to the borders, as was done with the anti-poaching initiative, as well as during the COVID-19 lockdown. On to New Era's front page, the Opuwo Town Council needs at least $147 million Namibian to upgrade and relocate its existing oxidation ponds while also establishing a water treatment plant, the town's acting CEO, Karai Rikambura, said. Now, Rikambura said this in an interview with New Era recently. The discussion zeroed into the council's work strategic plan and how it is navigating the different challenges it faces. At the moment, the town is faced with a water crisis due to insufficient reservoirs. So bad are things that the town council is forced to close water taps every night to ensure that there is sufficient water the following day. On page 3, newly elected Keetmanshoop Rural Constituency Councillor Willem Labushane, who ran on the ticket of the Landless People's Movement, said plans on the way forward will not be his exclusively, but rather those that were strategized by the party. This was his statement when probed after being declared as the successful contestant following elections last Monday to fill the vacant Keetmanshoop Rural Constituency Councillor position. Market Watch reports that in a partnership deal, telecommunications operator Paratus Namibia has now branded 3 shops in informal areas in Windhoek where its mobile LTE services are advertised and sold. The stores are independently owned and managed by local shop owners, while the Paratus branding and marketing are facilitated by Namots. Namots is a marketing company that has created a business solution for the informal sector with professionally managed retail outlets where the branding has an impact and where people can shop conveniently near their homes. Now, South Africa's real salaries declined in the past 5 years. More on this story in our economic news.
Welcome to My.NA Cars, your ultimate destination for everything automotive.
I am your host, Diana Master. Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Discover the latest models, innovative technologies, and expert insights from our passionate hosts. Learn essential maintenance tips and get exclusive behind-the-scenes access to the automotive industry. Don't miss My.NA Cars on NTV every Thursday at 2100 hours. Tune in and ignite your passion for automobiles.
Let's take a look at the economic news. South Africans have seen their real salaries lag behind inflation by nearly 4 percentage points in the past 5 years, according to a report from payment service house BankServe Africa. The report, which looked at data for the 5 years to February 2023, found the average nominal take-home pay in SA increased by 22.8% to 15,438, while core inflation came in at 26.6%. Amid stress from the fallout from COVID-19 and Russia's invasion of Ukraine, South Africa's nominal average take-home pay fell behind the rising cost of living in 2022. Independent economist Elise Kruger, who compiled the report, said in a statement that the rising cost of production, such as fuel, exacerbated by load shedding and wage demands, was creating a tough environment for salaried workers generally. Let's take a look at the economic indicators. $1 will cost $19 million and 37 cents, while 1 British pound translates to $24 million and 5 cents. Most of the stock prices on the Namibia stock remain unchanged except for Lesego Holdings Limited and Oryx Properties. Now, overall index is down by 0.24%, while the local index remains unchanged. Gold is valued at $1,964, while Brent crude oil is valued at $75 and 86 cents per barrel. Zimbabwe receives 18 medical police air services and rescue helicopters from Vladimir Putin. Stay with NMH at 1 for an update on this story. Getting into our news from across Africa, Zimbabwe took delivery yesterday of helicopters reportedly purchased from the Russian Federation. The event was attended by President Emmerson Mnangagwa and the chief executive of the Russian state corporation, Rostec. The aircraft will be deployed for policing, wildlife protection duties, and disaster management. Zimbabwe is under sanctions. We are constrained, unlike our neighbors and the rest of the world, to acquire the tools we need to mitigate the impact of cyclones and disasters in our region, the head of state said. He celebrated the handover of the equipment, saying it would enhance his country's response capacity and enable Zimbabwe to assist neighbors such as Malawi and Mozambique that are often struck by natural disasters. The event took place at the Robert Mugabe International Airport in Harare. Now, the Russian envoy to Zimbabwe was in attendance. According to President Mnangagwa, cooperation between countries under sanctions only makes sense. Zimbabwe is under sanctions by the same people for different reasons. Then you are told, don't speak to that guy who is under sanctions. When I am under sanctions, you are saying victims of sanctions should not speak to each other. What nonsense. Ambassador Nikolai Kresilikov was of Emmerson Mnangagwa's opinion. It makes us proud that in the current geopolitical situation, Russia and Zimbabwe, as the all-weather friends, enhance their interaction despite threats of sanctions and challenges of the turbulent times we live through. According to the Zimbabwe Presidential Communications Office, of the 18 helicopters delivered, 12 are air ambulances, while 6 are designed for law enforcement. The fleet will officially reach 32 by the year 2025. We'll get into our international news shortly. Thousands of South Korean nurses went on strike today after President Yoon Suk-yeol vetoed a law to improve their pay and working conditions amid protests from doctors and nursing assistants who feared the legislation would hurt their jobs. The bill passed the opposition-led parliament last month after protests from some medical workers who said the new law would open the door for nurses to provide treatment without a medical license. Nurses say that the doctor's claim is groundless and that the country needs more care centers to cope with its rapidly aging population. In vetoing the bill, Yoon said that the new law caused excessive conflict among medical workers and that nursing practices outside medical institutions would cause public anxiety over the healthcare system. The impact of the strike was seen as limited so far, as most protesters use holiday time or shortened business hours, with major hospitals operating normally. Now, South Korea's Health Minister Cho Kyo-hong presided over an emergency response meeting today and urged medical facilities to closely monitor the situation to prevent the strike from affecting patients. We'll be back after the break with your local sports news.
Welcome to Active Kids, a daily TV show that sparks creativity, learning, and fun for young minds. With exciting activities and lessons, Active Kids inspires curiosity and a love for learning.
New face to the 15.
The perfect mix of play and education. Don't miss out on the fun. Tune into Active Kids on NTV every weekday at 10 o'clock and let the adventure begin.
Let's take a look at the local sports news. Namibian pugilist Jeremiah Nakatila is gloved up to confront unbeaten America prospect Raymond Martella in a lightweight 10-round undercard on Saturday in Las Vegas. The Namibia Football Association's technical expert Jacqueline Shipanga left for Brazil to take part in FIFA's new prestigious technical leadership diploma this week. Shipanga joined 25 technical leaders from member associations and confederations from around the globe at the Brazilian Football Federation. Now, Namibian athletics coaches feel hard done following their exclusion by Athletics Namibia from an athletics training camp to be conducted exclusively by South African coaches. We get into our international sports now. Amazulu FC will go head-to-head with Orlando Pirates at the Moses Mbahida Stadium in their final DStv Premiership match of the campaign on Saturday. Chippa United caretaker coach Siyambulela Ngwambi has urged his players to accept their current situation as the Chile boys prepare to take on Golden Arrows in their final DStv Premiership match at the Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium on Saturday. Stellenbosch FC will face off with TX Galaxy at the Danny Craven Stadium in their final DStv Premiership match of the season on Saturday. After the break, we get into your news highlights. Do stay with us.
Hello NMH at 1 viewers, my name is Michael Kayunde. I'm back on your TV screens to give you guys a lowdown of the events that are taking place over the weekend in the country. To begin with, you can catch that as chill sessions tonight on Namibian Sun's Facebook page at 1900 hours. That's where we get to take you in and around the country, counting down the latest music videos that are trending for the week. You can also catch the repeat of the show that is tomorrow on NTV channel 285 on DStv, that is at 7:30 in the morning. Moving along with other events that are still taking place over the weekend, you can catch that as the album pre-launch as well as award celebration by Waters happening tonight at the Loft from 9 p.m. to 4 a.m. As you guys know, our very own Waters recently won a Metro FM Awards in SA, so he's gonna be at the Loft celebrating that milestone. So please go out there and support Waters. Tickets are $100. Moving along with other events that you can still catch this weekend if you happen to be in the north or that's where you are headed to, you can catch that as Top Cherry performing at Haimbili Haufiku Senior Secondary School. They are having a school tournament as well as a beauty pageant with a performance by Top Cherry at 1800 hours. Those are some of the events that are taking place in and around the country this weekend. Please make sure you go out there and have responsible fun. From me, Michael, until next time, it's bye-bye.
That was the Weekend Gig Guide. Let's get into the news highlights from today's broadcast. Zimbabwe took delivery yesterday of helicopters reportedly purchased from the Russian Federation. The aircraft will be deployed for policing, wildlife protection duties, and disaster management. Thousands of South Korean nurses went on strike on Friday after President Yoon Suk-yeol vetoed a law to improve their pay and working conditions amid protests from doctors and nursing assistants who feared the legislation would hurt their jobs. Namibian athletics coaches feel hard done following their exclusion by Athletics Namibia from an athletics training camp to be conducted exclusively by South African coaches. Those have been your highlights. Remember to tune in every weekday at 1 p.m. to spend your lunch hour with NMH at 1, catching up on the latest news in Namibia, Africa, and the world, ranging from current affairs, economic news, sports, and international headlines. That's it from me, Glenn Rashipura.